Hey everybody, how's it going? We're live. Jesse Dobeck here. Welcome to the Beyond Big Influence Show with Jesse Dobeck. And I have one of my really good friends with me here today, Brooks Hollan. Super excited to have you here, bro. How you doing?
Dude, I'm just pumped to be here.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're pumped to have Brooks here. He's got an amazing story, a crazy story. So as you come on here today and you resonate with his story, make sure you share this out on social media. We're broadcasting this live right now on 8 channels. So on 8 of my social media channels. So make sure you share this out because other people today, they need inspiration. It's Monday. It's going to be a busy week. The world's changing super fast and people need something to kick them in gear and get them to the next level. And this is a guy here, Brooks, who has taken his life to the next level. I mean, he started with very humble beginnings and overcame adversity. We're going to get into his story here in just a second, but just a little bit about his story is he graduated from the Naval Academy. I mean, he had big dreams and big goals in his life. And then he tried to become a Navy SEAL, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about this. But he got dropped 13 days right before graduation from becoming a Navy SEAL. So he felt like he wasn't good enough. He was starting to feel adversity. And then he tried to be an Olympic swimmer, and he got dropped from that too. He can tell you more about that, but he definitely did not make it to his goal of becoming that. But he didn't quit there. He started some businesses. He was $32,000 in debt, sleeping on his buddy's couch. And then he went on to create 2 7-figure businesses. All right. So he didn't stop at, I can't do this, or, there's a lot of things in your way, and everybody feels adversity and they overcome things, and they need to find their purpose. And we're going to talk about that here today and really dive in. So Brooks, welcome to the show, man. We're going to just really get into it. And I might ask you some questions that, are pretty difficult to answer, I would say, but,
yeah, let's do it, man.
I hope you're good with that, man.
100%.
Yeah. So can you just tell us a little bit about, you graduated from the Naval Academy, and then how did that happen? You wanted to become a Navy SEAL and you didn't quite make it. So can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. Let me just back up real quick. I started swimming competitively when I was 6 years old.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was doing 2-a-days by the time I was 7. I was ranked 4th in the country in swimming by the time I was 10. And that was when I was working with my first Olympic swim coach. And then, through high school, I worked with Michael Phelps's coach for 3.5 years. I swam at the Naval Academy where I qualified for NCAAs and Olympic trials. And I give that backstory to set the detail that since I was a kid, I was operating at a really high level, extremely athletic, being in the water. Because that's the thing, when I went to the Naval Academy, I'd heard the word Navy SEALs. I knew absolutely nothing about them at all. But then once I got there, I see that these guys do everything from the water, the tight teams, all that stuff. I was like, that's what I want to do. And, at the Naval Academy, you compete on everything based on your class rank. That's how you get selected and get to choose what you do after graduation. So we had 52 guys competing for 15 spots, and at this level at the Naval Academy, everybody's at a high level. Everybody in their senior year at the Naval Academy, everybody's a stud. All the guys are cranking physically, all the things. So it's super competitive. I still ended up getting one of the 15 SEAL slots, and headed off to Buds, after graduation from the Naval Academy.
Absolutely. And what do you think the difference was at that time? For you, for not making it or just getting over the hump or over the hurdle, if you could look back,
so
was there anything you could have done different or that set you back, you think?
I don't think there was any. I was thinking I beat myself. So let me fast forward a little bit. So I ended up getting dropped 13 days till graduation from SEAL training. Mm-hmm. And the real crux of that is back when I was at the Naval Academy before my senior year, I was a big skydiver. At the time, I think I had, the whole scheme of things, but I think I had at the time 120, 130 skydives. And I was out at summer training before my senior year out in Coronado doing this program called Mini Buds, a 4-week, for the guys that wanted to go SEALs. when I was out there, I met some SEALs, and I had videotape of me doing 50-way state record attempt skydives in Delaware.
Yeah.
So I knew these guys were hooking me up, like, hey, you should come jump with us. They were doing some fun jumps, And so I was like, sure. They gave me a parachute. I'm comfortable jumping out of airplanes. Like, I knew they were hooking me up, but I didn't, I wasn't firing on all cylinders, really. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. These guys are hooking me up. So I jumped, 10 days later, I'm standing in front of the CO and XO of a SEAL team. I get sent back to the academy, got in trouble there. And so that was the thing. So getting one of those 15 SEAL slots was huge when I had that incident, kind of stacked against me. But as far as like what did it, I think it was, just my background, the competitive nature, being part of high functioning teams, and swimming that never quit, that track record, I think, served me well. And then, getting into SEAL training was doing great, crushing, run, swim, all the things. And then, I got dropped 13 days till graduation.
Wow. I mean, thanks for elaborating on that. Cause I've overcame a lot of things too. I never got in trouble. I was a big sports guy. I played baseball, basketball, football, and soccer growing up. And I wanted to be an NBA superstar, but I hurt my knee. So it was like a physical limitation. And then, I couldn't get that fixed. I found myself in a bad spot too. So after all this happened, I mean, you were like $32,000 in credit card debt. How did that
was further along. So when I got dropped,
yeah.
I mean, literally everything I'd ever set out in life to accomplish, I had.
Yeah.
And here was something, and then this is the biggest thing. Once I got dropped, I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
I was Brooks the swimmer, for all those years, back in, I graduated, 98 from the Naval Academy. There was no, like, the internet hadn't really taken off yet. There wasn't any money in swimming. So pretty much, after college, swimming was kind of done. And so I was like, awesome. I'm going to trade in my Brooks the swimmer hat. I'm going to go be Brooks the badass Navy SEAL. Mm-hmm. And like, that was what my identity was going to be wrapped up in. And these are things, again, as you fast forward, these things took me 20 years to grasp. But yeah, once I got dropped, here I was 21, 22 years old. And I was lost. I didn't know who I was. I wasn't swimming. I wasn't going to be a part of this, elite Navy SEALs. I was just some guy, and I was part of the 80% that didn't make it through something.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of existing in life. And then fast forward, it gets to the point where I'm in my mid 30s. And I'm a Naval Academy graduate living in Southern California, which isn't exactly a low cost of living area.
Tell me about it.
I'm 30, but this just speaks to where I was. I was $32,000 in credit card debt. I had less than $5,000 to my name, and that's including retirement accounts. That's everything. Mm-hmm. And I had such scarcity mindset. I was like, how can I just make $3,000 a month? I mean, here I am, a Naval Academy graduate, college degree, all these things. And I'm like, how can I make $36,000 a year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that was like the level of scarcity I was at. Everything I owned in the world was in a 10 by 10 storage unit. And I was sleeping on an air mattress in a buddy's house that was getting foreclosed on.
Yeah, that's crazy. So what changed for you? How did you get out of that mindset? Like, what did you do? Like a speaker, go to an event? What happened?
It's like we had these things where, I always had, I take responsibility, but I really hadn't. There was so much blame. I was, still bitter and blaming getting dropped from SEALs. I was blaming, my dad, blaming this situation, blaming that situation. So I was like a victim to everything. And finally, I was sitting on that air mattress, and that was like, I had a SIG 226, mm-hmm. and I literally sat there, and I was like, I got to see, that was like the first one I see, like, this is how somebody gets to the point where they would want to take their own life.
Oh, wow.
But I was sitting there, I was like, I'm not doing that. But I was like, I had to look in the mirror and really be honest with myself, and all these things, like, responsibility. Like, I wasn't doing any of those things. Mm-hmm. So like, where I was in life, I had to take full responsibility that I was the 100% reason of where I was at. Mm. And so then that's what started the, the lifelong journey of, working on ourselves, doing the internal work so that we can, clear up all that stuff. And actually, it sounds a bit like when you got to know who you are. And that was the thing. We're always trying to pin it on something external. Like if I win these swim races, like if I get to be the Navy SEAL, if I get to be the investment banker, if I get to be the doctor, like all these external things will make us worthy, will make us complete. And so it was, really starting that journey of like, who am I? Yeah. And so that it was in that moment, and that's what started, doing the work on myself. And it was like, a year later, I met my now wife, and just, that's been a process. Like, you start learning like this life is a journey. It's not, there's not one program. There's not one course. There's not one book that like, oh, once I've done this, it's not like climbing Everest. Like you plant your flag and I'm good. And you walk down and go about life. Like it's this constant growth and evolution.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's not one specific thing that you did, like you read this one book and it changed your life forever. You went to this one event. Like, can you remember anything like that? Like,
well, I always say it
that just yeah.
Life is an awareness game. So it's like, a book opens you up to an awareness. So I think one of the first things that I did back in the day was, I went to a landmark. It's like that was the first thing that opened up some awareness. And I guess that's the thing. Like, there's never like one thing that does it. It's always a culmination. The thing is, it's all those, maybe it's those books that you read so that when you heard that piece of information, you had an awareness to grasp that piece that gets you to the next level. Because I think that's one thing that does, a big disservice to a lot of people is like, they think there's this one thing. Like what's the one book? What's the magic book that's going to do it? What's the magic podcast? And I was on that journey, like hunting for this magic thing, but really it's the awareness, it's the awareness that opens up, each time. I mean, again, like I like to use Tony Robbins as an example, like his UPW has been the same thing for like 30 years. There's people that have gone to it 5, 10, 15, 20 times. Like it's the same, but their awareness is different each time they get it. So like they're picking up on things because they're at a different place. And there's even, I'm a big fan of the classics and things. It's like going to the gym. If you do one rep of 1,000 different things, it's going to be very hard to build a great physique. But if you can, get repetition, and that's the thing. If you're honest with yourself, I mean, like you read a book and you're like, what did I retain from that? And people are we getting stuck in, especially nowadays, in this consumption loop. We're consuming on social media. We're not doing that. We're speed listening to a podcast. We're like constantly consuming, but what are we actually absorbing? What are we actually taking in? It's just, and that was me. I was a researcher. It was just a big, it's just a big safety mechanism. Yeah.
I'm going to try that sometime. Just go to the gym and do one rep of 1,000 things and see how that works. That's crazy. I mean, you gotta figure out what, like, you gotta do things extremely hard and dig all the way into something and go all in with something to see whether or not you can be successful with that. You can't just dabble around. You can't just, So what are your thoughts on that?
That's another one of my things. So, like life is an awareness game. The other thing I always say is it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
These things, a lot of things are simple, but that's where we start hitting the pain. That's where, all those things. I mean, I thought I was amazing at stuffing, burying, and hiding. Like, I got this, just stuff it down, thinking that, we can outrun it, that everything is fine. And it's going to come and get you. The body keeps the score. It's going to come get you one way or the other.
Absolutely. So, we're going to talk a little bit about influence today. And I mean, the show and everything that I talk about is about beyond big influence, getting outside your comfort zone, getting outside of your shell. I always tell this story. It's like a turtle when they're young. they stick their head out and you put your hand in their face and they're going to go back in their shell just because they're afraid of the world. They're afraid of themselves. They're afraid of their purpose. They're just not ready, or whatever it is. They're just not going for it. And then all of a sudden, like the turtle, when it gets older, you stick your hand in their face, it's going to bite your freaking hand off. That's not going to be a good idea because they're a little bit more comfortable. So, we're going to talk about that today. I mean, what are your thoughts on that specifically?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why it's so huge for me because, even in all that growth, when I met my wife, like my wife has close to 3 million social media followers between all the platforms.
Yeah.
Natalie Jill Fitness. And I think I'm at like 2,500 or something, just to give the difference in comparison. But that was the thing. Yeah. Like I still stayed in hiding. I always worked the back end of the businesses. And so that's really what I get. I say like there's this thing, and if I like step back, it's like right there it's like right there in the pit of your stomach. And there's people like me that stay below it with the perfectionism, the procrastination, the research, the like, I'm not enough. Like once I research and once I know enough, then I can start. And there's people on the other side of that same womb that take massive action, constantly get stuff done. They crush their to-do list, all those things. But the thing is, they can't slow down because they need that constant external validation. And it's that same core womb. That was the thing, like I stayed in hiding for so long. It literally on Facebook, it used to say that I was the quote unquote, like my title was like the invisible half at Natalie Jill Fitness. Like that's how, like that just speaks. Didn't matter how good my resume was, like all the accolades, like I didn't have a belief set that matched it. I let the not worthy, not good enough, rule everything. Yeah. So like that took a lot of work. And that's the thing. It's like, I've had all sorts of opportunities the last 10 plus years, just, with my wife's business, but like I stayed in hiding. I didn't take any of them.
Yeah. So I just want to say something about that because I've had people on my show. The first guy that I interviewed was Jason Myers. He's my business partner. He has he does not want to be famous at all. He has no desire to be out there on social media, getting 1 million followers, like doing all this stuff. But he has done $1 billion deal to his credit. The technology that Amazon uses for their supply chain, they use today. So does Walmart and Target. He did $1 billion deal. He structured that deal. He was working with all the high level executives for those companies. And he's made probably more money times 1 million like than us combined that are just here right now, like everybody listening to the show right now and us included. And he has no desire to be famous or to get 1 million followers. And then I've had other people on the show that have millions of followers, but they haven't influenced people like that. So I don't think it's a bad thing, And
nothing's good or bad at all. It's just the place that it comes from.
Yeah.
An example I like to use is like, somebody can love Lamborghinis, and if they're doing it because they love Lamborghinis and it's authentic, then it's fine. But somebody could also be from a massive place of ego and like they need that Lamborghini to look like enough to other people. Yeah. That's, it's the same car. It's just the place that it's coming from. There's a lot of people, like if they're doing it, if they have influence, they've got the followers and they're doing it from a place of they know who they are and the authenticity, and they're not doing it because they need the likes, comments, shares. They don't need the external validation constantly that says they're enough. Like that's when that person is free, when they're like, hey, yes, they get to have their influence, but they're not living and dying from the externalness of it. Does that make sense? Yeah, absolutely. It's just like, I was like, I needed to be a SEAL because that was going to say that I was worthy. Yes, it's what I wanted to do, but there was still that big element there, where it's like, that's just, who they are, whatever it is. Like some people want to be a lawyer for the title, not because they want to help. It's just getting that alignment. And you have to know who you are and be comfortable with who you are. Yeah.
So do you think that that's a healthy way to go about it? Like, what's your thought on that? You know, because I got like people like Jason who are like, I want to do this, and then I got other people saying I want like 1 billion followers, and I'm somewhere probably on the I want 1 billion follower type person. Like I do. You know, I do want to build this massive social media following. I mean, I work with influencers. I talk about influence a lot. But I also want to be able to do that $1 billion deal. I also want to be able to, you know, be partnered with the people that can help me do that. So, I mean, what do you think about health wise? Is that okay for you? Like, what would you say to me from your perspective on that?
It all comes down to drilling down to like the why.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and figuring out like what is the real vision. You know, it's like the $1 billion, the 1 billion followers, like these can be great, you know, scorecards, but it's like really getting down. Okay, so what if you only get 200 million? What does that say about you? And like, so it's like, like that's where you're like, that's like, I can't have that. So it's just like, and this is where, you know, the awareness, what are the triggers? What are the things that come up? And it's listening to your body, because your body's going to let you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and that's what we've seen with COVID. We got an election coming up, and it's just like, you can't escape it. Like if you're getting triggered through the roof about stuff with COVID, this, like all that is a mirror for you. Like, hey, I still have more work to do, you know, internally. Yeah. You know, it's like if you get the 1 billion followers, yet you can't take a week vacation because you got to keep doing it. Like it's having the awareness to like, okay, wait a second, you know, and this is the thing you see, like guys will have the $1 billion, but they can't stop to be present, you know? And it's just, you know, somebody say, you know, we go through seasons and some would say balance is terrible. You know, there's going to be seasons, but there's got to be a point. But a lot of times you see is like, there isn't balance.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a lot of times people's vacation is just a different place to do work.
Yeah.
That's and it's like, and we're missing, you know, the beauty of the world.
Yeah, I would definitely fall in that category. The times where I've traveled, the times where I've done things are all for like speaking at an event, you know, like doing work, doing a business meeting. You know, I do have a goal. I set a goal at my last meeting with my new, you know, with Jason and my new partners and stuff, that I was going to go on a vacation at least once or twice a year. Like once, my goal is before the end of the year, do at least 1 vacation, and then next year do like 2 for the whole year, you know, because I like literally haven't gone on a vacation for probably like 10 years, you know.
Yeah.
My vacations are not there. They're just like, it's like a work vacation. You know what I mean?
Right. And so this is where we got to have the awareness to like, what can and it doesn't always have to be like a 2-week vacation. But it's like, hey, you're traveling around, speaking all these places, you're going to different cities, you know, plan an extra day or 2 on the end of it to, you know, enjoy that city and then go on the next. Cause it's so easy nowadays with the 24/7 content cycle, everything to literally stay constantly entertained and constantly in motion.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it's just like, and we're going to have periods of that when we're working towards that bigger vision. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, 10 years go by and we haven't had a vacation. We haven't gotten to just, you know, be present, you know, enjoy the breeze going through the palm trees, like listening to the birds, like watching the whales. It's just like, we're like up next. And then we're back. We're like living our life through staring at our screens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's not to me, that's not healthy. It's not going to help you out. It's not going to inspire you. It's not going to reward you. I remember watching Tony Robbins tapes, and it's like, you got to reward yourself along the way. Otherwise, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to start feeling bad. Your confidence is going to go down. You know, I think confidence is the key. So that's huge.
And that's just why, you know, getting internal, where it's like, because usually there's some drive, like, you know, if I'm not working, I'm not enough. If I'm not working, you know, I'm not worthy because I'm not getting more followers or making more money, you know, those type of things. And I guess that was the thing for me over the years, you know, being in so many different masterminds and being around so many successful people, aside from just a financial aspect, I started looking at who are the people that actually have joy in their lives? Who are the people that like I would actually want to trade places with their life?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it wasn't the person with just the biggest top line revenue, you know, it was the people that had spent time with their families, spent time with their kids. You know, I don't think anybody's going to be on their deathbed, you know, in their 90s looking back like, man, I wish I'd have done a few more posts, or, you know, thinking back to all those comments that they answered. I think it's going to come back to, you know, the love, the connection, the people, you know, that really mattered most with them, you know, those type of things. I think what we really remember. And it's like, and it's also, isn't that why we want to work hard? You know, so that we can have that freedom to go, you know, take that vacation with the friends and family that we love and be present and have that level of connection. Like, to me, that's what's really important.
Yeah. One of the videos, I watched this video from this guy, Jonathan Budd, and I'm not sure if you know him, but he lives in San Diego. When I got started, he made this video and he said there's 3 P's. There's pleasure, passion, and purpose. And pleasure is what is the shortest lived happiness. You're always going to be chasing it. You can never conquer it. And then your passions are stronger than pleasure. And they're things that you really enjoy that drive you and like, but they're still not the ultimate that's going to make you happy. They're longer lived than pleasure, but they're not going to fulfill you in your life. But your purpose and that one thing that you're there for, that you're like striving for, that you really need to achieve, that you would, every day you wake up, it's like a burning desire to do that. That's what you're going to remember on your deathbed. You're not going to remember any of the pleasurable things. It doesn't matter if you got 20 Lamborghinis and 50 houses and like all that pleasure stuff, you know?
And that's the thing. Cause when we're doing the pleasure, it's the masking or the numbing of a pain. You know, that's the retail therapy, like buying something, like it feels good, but it wears off really fast. And that's the thing, is like when you're operating in purpose, you know, that's when you have alignment with who you are.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when all of a sudden you're like, you know, the guy's like, and here's the thing, it's like, there's nothing wrong with Lamborghinis if you're like, hey, like I'm a Porsche guy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, actually, I took that picture in the background. That's, you know, that was up in Pebble Beach. I mean, that's a, you know, that car is over 33 years old, has no air conditioning, no cruise control, no power steering, no anti-lock brakes. Like, it's just raw and engaging. And it's like, you know, I've got 2 911s. That one I have a newer one, but it's like gun to my head, like that's the car that I'm keeping. Like, I have a passion for cars. You know, there's that connectedness. Like, I love the act of driving, you know, and so it's not about like, that's why I have that car, not for, you know, I got to have the newest one because people will think this, that, or the other. And the thing is, like, once you're operating in your purpose and you're having influence there, like, that's what's when you're in alignment. That's what is huge.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And I'm a car guy too. We're going to have to go drive some cars. I got a Corvette, so we can go have some fun out here. And just so you guys know, we both live in San Diego. We're friends. When I met Brooks, I remember meeting him. I think it was at a bar in the Renaissance, whatever that hotel was that Chalene Johnson was doing her event. And a lot of the stuff we're talking about here today, it's like, I was scared to death to go on her stage. You know, that was the first time I had ever been on like a stage even close to that size by myself, and probably like the 3rd stage I've even been on in my whole life. And I had times when I was in you know, college. I remember there's definitely been times in my life where I tried to do a presentation and I completely froze up because I lost what I was trying to say, and like I was embarrassed, and you know, that was one of the times, you know, I felt like that was an exciting experience for me, because I felt like I showed up, I was scared, I was nervous, and I felt like I was still myself on the stage. And I remember I talked to Brooks afterwards and we stayed in touch, and you know, he's became a good friend of mine. So looking forward to what we can do together, man. And I'm here to support you in your journey for sure.
100%. And like, that's what's so key is, you know, again, I go back to like getting to know ourselves and that discomfort. So I think the other big thing that, you know, we hadn't really touched on yet is, you know, through all that, like being in a place of blame and things like that, I didn't go home to see my family for almost 18 years.
Yeah.
Like I
Right.
figured I would just, go across country. And then, just I was actually doing some work, and we did like an exercise in a classroom. And it was so powerful that I said, I need to go do this in real life before it's too late. So like a week after that, I got in my car. I took a 33-day solo road trip. I drove 5,832 miles cross country and back. And I showed up unannounced and knocked on the door at my parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
I spent 3.5 days with them. And like I left there like I was floating. And I call it like these 1,000-pound invisible anchors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like you can have 6-pack abs, all this other stuff, but like this is the internal baggage, that I was carrying around with me everywhere, and it's like coming from that place, it's going to get on absolutely like everything that you're doing. And so that was so huge to just go there and truly forgive. I mean, I'd written letters. I forgive you. Nothing's changing. I forgive you. Like I forgive it, but because it wasn't genuine, it wasn't authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And then in doing that, like forgiveness is so huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, on my personal situation, my dad, I moved out of his house because he was super negative about my business and calling me a loser and a third-class citizen, and I'm a bum because I didn't get a job like him, and this make-believe business I was starting wasn't ever going to work. But, I just kept going. I persevered. I understood like there is going to be a time when I am successful and my dad's going to look back and regret what he's saying. And I don't want to say I won or anything like that. I just definitely think that my dad right now, he's my number one fan. He tells everybody how proud he is of me. He's like, and my sister too. He's changed as a person because he realized like there is a different path. Just the path that he grew up or somebody else's vision is not yours. And he's just happy that I'm successful as much as I am, so, and now we're like super close. So
yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, we repeat the pattern until we get the lesson. That was the thing. It's like, you look back, like he was doing the best that he possibly could with the information that he had.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, again, he loves you. All he wanted was the best for you. Yeah. And based on his life experience and was, like doing the entrepreneurial thing, like, man, just go get the safe job. Like he wanted the best for you. And it's just, it takes time. There's also there's a fear to step out and be an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes like, it's a reflection, it's a mirror, like someone's doing something that as an individual, we were scared to do ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so like, it's that awareness to the triggers, the emotions that are coming up around things like that. Yeah. And so like, that's awesome that, you guys, I don't know if reconciles right, but like you guys have a good relationship now and you didn't let that, further the divide.
Yeah, it was definitely, there were times where I didn't want to talk to him, that I ignored him. Like there were years when we were just not together. I wouldn't come over on holidays. I mean, it's not that we never talked. It's just when we did, I was just like, I had an attitude and I just didn't want to be around him because I just felt like he was just super negative. And I think there's a lot of people that go through these things with family members or, a spouse or an ex-girlfriend or anything, right?
100%. Like even there were times, I mean, we would talk, sometimes every 4 months, 6 months, and it was literally on and off the phone in 60 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's like, I wouldn't give anything, how's the weather? Nice. How's things? Fine. Like it would just be like to get off the phone, it's like, I'm going to protect, I'm going to hold everything in. I'm not going to share. Yeah. And then like that didn't serve me at all. Mm-hmm. And it was just like through that work and growth, and again, the first person we got to forgive is ourselves. I had to forgive myself from being at that victim state. I had to forgive myself for those actions first. And here's the big thing about forgiveness, because I've worked with a lot of people with, where there's been alcoholism, sexual abuse, things like that. And a lot of people have probably said like, I'll never forgive and fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. And the thing is forgiveness doesn't condone the situation, the person, or what happened. Mm-hmm. All forgiveness is so you're powerfully choosing not to swallow that bitter pill of anger and resentment every day for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Like the forgiveness is to set you free so that you're not, because half the time it's like locking ourselves into a prison cell, clipping the keys on somebody's belt, and they don't even know they have the keys. And we're like mad at the person, but they don't know. So it's like we're projecting so much blame when we're doing it to ourselves. So forgiveness, it's for you. And whether the other person accepts it or not is really irrelevant. It just has to come from that place where you're 100% authentic and ready and truly ready to forgive and be set free from whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you work with people on this kind of stuff? Is that what? Oh yeah, that's your kind of your main thing, or like?
Yeah. So, I mean, there was all the business stuff. It's like I've been coaching, for about 3 years now, but this is the evolution, the progression. I used to hide behind I'm referral only, or, other people would get the people together and I would come in and coach them, for masterminds through my wife's things, but in that process, like I still never put myself out there.
Yeah.
I didn't go on podcasts. I didn't, do anything. So I intimately understand, for a lot of people, like how hard it is to do video. Mm-hmm. The name of our company is 212 Marketing Video Production. I mean, I've filmed my wife for thousands of videos. I've done, I know how to light video, shoot video, edit video, green screen. I've done video for doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, yet not once did I get on the other side of the camera.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And it's like that being seen was terrifying. I mean, I've worked with guys that were, special forces, Navy SEALs, combat pilots, and a lot of people don't understand this, like they would rather be in a combat situation where they're getting shot at versus sticking their hand out, pressing their thumb down and recording a video, a Facebook Live or a YouTube video for the world to see.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they're like, wait a second, getting shot at versus like holding your phone. But like, that's the stuff that I know so intimately and know how to get people to the other side of, because again, the central nervous system has the exact same response of whether you're getting shot at or whether you're doing just whatever your comfort zone is. Mm-hmm. If a guy's been trained in the military for 20 years and he's been in those situations, he's going to feel more comfortable there than if he saw stuff like to be seen. To tell your story, to put yourself out there for the world to see you, to judge you, to see all your quote unquote flaws. Yeah, your central nervous system is going to give you a visceral, I'm in physical danger type response.
Absolutely. So somebody out there that's just getting started in their business, and I know you've been in that position, you worked with a lot of people that have been in that position. What would you tell them right now that they need to focus on when they're just getting started, if you could go back and think about it?
So the first thing is, getting clear on your vision. Mm-hmm. And then again, so like my core thing is like life is an awareness game. Mm-hmm. And especially now with all the marketing, there's so many ways to get sidetracked. Like I need this tactic, all of the things. And this is the thing about entrepreneurship is what I say, like behind every business problem is an internal one. Mm-hmm. So you have to have a level of awareness to figure out like, where am I getting tripped up? Mm-hmm. And just this past year, I've coached over 50, early stage to, basically early stage, just beginning, or revenue up to 500K, that level of entrepreneur. And it's just, all the things that come up. And even like looking back, like what I've done with these other businesses, like, at each new level, there's a new devil. Like your stuff is going to come up, at each new level. And that's what's so hard, especially for the early stage. People, they made $250,000 in corporate America for 14 years. And then it's like, they go, all right, I'm going to go do my own thing. The thing is for all those years, what they were really selling was whatever the company was, whatever the corporation, that's where the value was. Mm-hmm. And then when they go to do their own thing, all of a sudden the value is them. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden that's where your worthiness starts getting pinged on. That's where, people that were making $250,000 a year start, they start lowering their prices, and they like the fear. And so it's, it's getting through those, it's that internal stuff. It's the internal work. that is so huge, so that you can get into action, so you can start getting the results, so you can start helping people. And that's, again, we talked about earlier, like that's, finding your purpose.
Yeah.
Because
totally.
once you find your purpose and once you know you're on message, like you can be off purpose. And we've seen it, with other people, like you can be off purpose with tens of millions of followers, or you can be on purpose, but you're in alignment and cruising through life, like things are good, because all of a sudden, like that, the external stuff isn't the measuring stick.
Yeah. So when you were building your companies and working with your wife, and she was growing, and you're kind of behind the scenes and she's in front of the camera doing her thing, and was that was just wearing on you? Were you like, what would you, because people's comments, like, because you're crushing it behind the scenes, like she wouldn't have been able to do what she was able to do without you.
Oh, totally.
To do it. You know what I mean? So it had to be a team effort, and you were playing your role. So
it was 100% a team effort.
Yeah.
And then the thing is just like, I wasn't in alignment because I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that's the key thing. Just like, there's different personalities, things like that. There's people that want to be the star on the stage, but it's figuring out, you start realizing, I'm like, oh, like I should be out there. But then that was where the awareness to the triggers, the awareness to all the things that were coming up. Like, I do want to help people. Like, my drive isn't the number of followers, because I look at my own growth and the things that have been hugely impactful for me in life. And that was coaching. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes it can be tough to scale, coaching. And so I just, I really see the ripple effect, just from in myself and like the people that I work with, and the ripple that they have on a daily basis. So it's not so much, 1 to millions, and maybe the people that they're impacting, it doesn't matter to me whatsoever that people don't know that, that I was part of it. Like when you get into your purpose and that joy and that fulfillment, and you know who you are, you just keep doing, great things. And, you have gratitude for everything. Like every person I work with, I see like celebrating their success. Like I love helping people, get through that place that I was mired in for decades.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so that's why most of the stuff I do is, small group, and as I get this dialed in, yes, I will look at ways, people that are experts at that, where you can start growing it. But in the end, whatever, there's still an element of having that one-on-one coach, having those tight communities, having those tight families. And that's why I was like, on the swim team, the SEAL teams, there's something to be said for these, like, these groups. So that's what I like to put together, is groups of people that are level 10 committed. And what you can create with that, it's quote unquote only 12 people. But once you help 12 people step into their purpose, the ripple effect of that, I mean, pretty soon you are impacting millions of people. And it's just when you know that you're on purpose, the ego is not going, all the millions need to know I was the catalyst for that. But it's just, in your soul. And it's like the people that know, they know, just like your buddy, he doesn't need everybody to know. He's comfortable with himself. And he can do his thing. And so that's just really where the alignment is. Like, we need people to be the stars. We need people to be the behind the scenes people. I just want to make sure that, people are doing it because that's where they really want to be.
Absolutely.
Like we don't want to have people like you or like Tony Robbins, hiding behind a screen because of some internal dialogue, because you guys aren't in your purpose. You guys aren't doing your gifts. Because if you're not doing that, you're not doing shows like this. You're not bringing your purpose and gifts to the world. And so it's just, having people, and at the same time, if someone's trying really hard just to get followers or whatever it is, but they really would be a great person to work with a star to help them, the attention to detail, the other pieces. It's just about being in alignment and being okay with that role.
Yeah. And I think part of my upbringing, I played a lot of sports. I liked winning. and I like being on stage, and it felt good when somebody said, hey, you had a great game. You pitched a no-hitter. Like, I've never seen anybody pitch that good in Little League. Or, wow, you hit 2 home runs in one game and, in a playoff game. Or it's like they're saying things. I had people giving me money, adults of people on the team. It felt like, and I think I was programmed into that. That's the most important thing out there in the world. So I think that has a lot to do with it, how you're brought up, you're nurtured,
totally
upbringing and all that stuff. So, yeah. So that was kind of big for me. And I think there's certain people that, based on what their childhood memories are and what they're excited about, that just is what that is. And my dad, he wanted me to be a sports star. And I thought I was going to be like either a Major League Baseball player or play in the NBA or be a quarterback in the NFL. Like, that was when I was growing up, that was all I was thinking about for 25 years. And, and there was a point in my career where I had to quit and try to find something else. And I literally cried for a week, and I thought I was done. And then I just said, okay, well, you know what? And Mark Cuban would say this too. He's like, well, maybe I didn't play in the NBA or I didn't make it in the NBA, but now I own an NBA team. So I figured something else out. So that's kind of like, I saw that as, okay, maybe there's another way for me to have that level of success or beyond that level of success. And there's another path. And I feel like there's always another path, right? I mean, that you can go
100%. And like, that's what it took me, 20 plus years to get about being dropped from SEAL training. We think we have this design of our own paths, but God had a different path for me. He had a different plan. It just took me a long freaking time to grasp, what that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, because I used to think for the longest time, like I never I went to my 20-year reunion from the Naval Academy, and there's people that had no idea, they knew who I was at the Academy. They knew I was going SEALs. Like they just assumed that I had a SEAL career. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I hid that stuff so much, was that internal work. And I didn't see, does anybody ever have their dog when it like sneaks up behind them? So I know it looks like I've stumbled here twice, but it's like he does the old sneak in behind me here. So
bring him on if he wants, or is he asleep?
He's kind of up now. Flops, you want to say hi, buddy?
Come here. Hey, Flops.
Hey, buddy.
Come here, buddy. He's such a good dog. I remember when I came over, and he was just a puppy. Yeah. I think he was small. Was he small? I think he was the same size. He was just young. I remember. Yeah, you just got him. I remember he came to the door when I was there. Came over. So yeah, awesome. Yeah, I like animals too, and I know you love your dog, so that's amazing. Oh, yeah. So. Awesome, man. Well, what's next for you right now? You're working on this
so
you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I launched a program called Into the Light. Mm-hmm. And it's helping people that have been hiding from some aspect. It's a lot of the people, the perfectionism, the procrastination, the researching, the imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. And it's basically taking people out of the shadows, out of the darkness, and into the light to be seen. Mm-hmm. And it's a 4-month program. It's a combination of group, and the other key piece is there's one-on-one. And then I've also got some really cool, other tools that I'm using in there with accountability and things like that. So really, it's already half full, and, these people are going to have like a family, mm-hmm. Everybody's 10 out of 10 committed. And the big thing here is, we start here September 12th. But New Year's Eve this year, everyone's going to have a different New Year's than they ever have before in their life. Mm-hmm. Again, I always say it's simple, but it's not easy. This program is for people that are ready. It's going to be uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It's going to be uncomfortable. And this is the thing, the people that I know, the people that are in this already, they know, they're like, hey, they've been reading, they've been doing the stuff. They know that they need that help. They know that like this not taking action is the thing that's crippling and paralyzing me. And through watching my journey and everything like that, I mean, they're all in. And so 12 people, you are going to be in a massively different place at the end of these 4 months, because we start September. So like towards the end of it is when New Year's is, this New Year's Eve, it's not going to be, Groundhog Year again of fake motivation, having this night and then back to the same. We're going to get to the root of these things that are holding us back. We're going to interrupt these patterns. We're going to uncover our gifts and we're going to bring them to the world. Just go from serving an identity to stepping into your purpose. And then, the action steps. Cause and this too, the business stuff is easy in a sense.
Yeah.
It's just like, I always say this, like Mark Cuban can come in and give you the $1 billion business plan. But if you're not internally and emotionally equipped to execute it, you're going to self-sabotage it. You're going to prove that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so, and this is the thing, like once you get clear on that, then using the different tools and tactics is easy once you're operating on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've tapped into your gifts, it's really easy to pick the pieces that you need. And that's also where I'm huge is I like to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And especially for the early stage entrepreneur, there's so much amazing marketing. There's so much stuff. And as you know, complexity, makes things even more overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I'm really good at getting entrepreneurs from 0 to 6 figures and then 7 figures. Because again, you can only take people as far as you've gotten. I've done 7 figures multiple times. So
yeah. Yeah. And just so you guys know, not to say too much about Brooks, but when I went over to his house, he's like in the most expensive area in San Diego with a multi-million-dollar, I want to call it a estate or a small house. It's like had to go through security to get there. He's not living in an apartment somewhere out in, East County, San Diego. He's living extremely high up because he's achieved a massive level of success for him and his company. So he knows what it takes to get to that level, and he's done it multiple times. So
And I'll also say that there was times when I had the designer clothes, but I wasn't in alignment with myself.
Yeah.
It was still from the appearances. And again, that's why, we talk about cars. Everyone wants to show that, like, that car in the background, like that car is just authentically me. I take it to car shows, but it's just like, there's nothing better for me. There's no stereo. I just go for a drive. Like I'm just uber present. I feel everything. It's just, that's what life is about. So yes, and again, I've learned from my past. So I have created a very nice life for myself and my family. And that's just what I want for other people. And I just know that first step is, we gotta go into the darkness, because the only thing that gets rid of the darkness is the light. I want to help and the thing is, it's usually some of the most amazing people with the most qualifications, the most knowledge, the most success, the best resumes that aren't sharing their gifts, that are staying and hiding.
Yeah.
And so I got 6 spots left. If this resonates with you, if you would like to have me in your corner on your team and be a part of a tight family for 4 months and see how that could benefit you, shoot me an email or message. We'll hop on the phone and, see if you're a fit.
Okay. And people can go to your website too, service2purpose.com to fill out an app or.
Yeah, there's just a quick, they can even email me, brooks@service2purpose.com. The website, is being redone, but my message resonates with a certain type of people.
Yeah. So the email is brooks@service2purpose.com.
Yeah. Service, the number 2 purpose.com, brooks@service2purpose.com. I do, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Most of my Facebook lives and all that stuff, I don't have that content on Instagram because I don't have enough followers or some of the cool stuff. But, I do post on Instagram. But yeah, Facebook is a great place to follow me.
Yeah. So you can follow Brooks at life_of_Brooksy on Instagram. So you can go there and check him out. He's just getting that going. So definitely support him, give him a follow, shoot him a message. And then at facebook.com/SoCal Brooks, you can go there to connect with him. He's more active there. He's built more things there as well.
Yeah, it's just where I do my lives, because I don't have, I can do his stories on Instagram. So
yeah, and he has a very powerful video on this website, service2purpose.com, that I went to and I checked it out yesterday. It'll definitely kind of bring home a lot of the stuff we've talked about here. Then you can book a call with him, but also reach out and email him at brooks@service2purpose.com. He's one of my great friends, lives close by. We need to hang out more, dude, and do
totally
some things together. I mean, I'm very excited about the world, even though we're in this state of where we're at. I'm optimistic we'll get through it at some point.
We will 100% get through this.
Yeah.
And this is the biggest thing I learned through this whole time is like the world that we see, it's basically it's a reflection of our own internal projection.
Mm-hmm.
And so like one of the things to do is like have people like stop watching the news. And look, I grew up as a news junkie. I grew up in a news family. Like in the car, it was talk radios, the news, the Naval Academy. You had to know 3 news articles a day, the news. I was around the news constantly.
Yeah.
And it took me, almost 4 decades to break this news habit. Like it was like part of me in my day. Everybody needs to know the news. The news it's fear-based. Any real news will find you.
Yeah.
You'll be much happier. And just, during this whole thing, I was coaching 28 people through COVID and through this, the quote unquote, the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, interrupting a lot of that stuff. And nowadays with technology, instead of just the stuff in our own world, we're exposed to, all the negativity and all the fear, worldwide. So it's really easy to be, just see the world as a terrible place and to get wrapped up in that. And it's just not the case.
Yeah,
and that was me for years, man. I was on the other side of these things. I was always, because the first thing you do when you're in a victim state is you go to, validate your victim state. And that's the thing when you're in a victim state. It's really easy to find other people that are in a victim, and it feeds on itself. Your brain, your reticular activation starts going out there to find evidence of why things are bad. Yep, there's another thing, but it's just, it's not the case. And so I really helping people flip to that other side, which for the first time in my life, for something like this where I was on, honestly, it's been a beautiful time for me. It's been beautiful to help other people, get through a lot of the fear-based noise, and be able to really, see what's important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because the news, they're just going to put a bunch of fear in front of you. It sells. They're going to program the world in a certain way. But, you got to program your own brain, not let somebody else do it.
100%. And it goes back to my core tenet, life is an awareness game.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to be aware, and that's even if you're sitting in a coffee shop and there's a TV on in the corner, even if you're not watching it, your subconscious is picking that stuff up. So we got to be really protective of the information and the things that we're surrounding ourselves with.
Absolutely. Well, Brooks, you've been more than generous with all your information, your time, all the stories and things to help people get out and step into their light and create beyond big influence. So I'm just blessed and honored to have you here, man. And
totally.
Like I said, we got to do more stuff together.
Yeah. You got to come over here because we got, every day, these are the little things. Like I take Flops for a walk, but like in our neighborhood, we have a private lake with horse trails and, there's geese and swans and egrets and like, there's so much, but it's just like, these are the little things where at least every day I get out and I go appreciate those things.
Yeah. I'm down to go driving with you too sometime.
Yeah. Let's do it, man.
Where do you go? You just like where do you usually drive to? Because I'm in La Jolla, I usually drive up the coast on the 101 because it's like a nice scenic drive. But I know there's probably like a lot of other places I need to probably be driving to.
I mean, there's the beautiful coastal scenic drives, which I enjoy. And there's times where I just like, getting away, heading out to the canyons and the mountains.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone on some drives where literally there's no lines on the road. I mean, it's a little, because I mean, literally your cell phone just has an X, like there's no reception. Yeah. It's literally a road that, and it's not about going crazy, but it's just, you're being out there, and especially like in, my car there's no distractions, just uber presence, just the connection, the feeling, like, yeah, there's all sorts of great drives. And then, there's a little, they call it like the secret car club, so you can bring you can bring the vet out. So we'll connect on that, and then we can go hit that up.
That'd be awesome, man. Well, it was great to have you, and I hope you have an amazing week. Everybody out here, super inspired by this. Make sure you share this out on your social media. Hit the like button, drop a comment. I know somebody from my team's been inside my Facebook account. We're getting Are we still there?
Yeah, we're still here. You froze. I was like, I'm looking at my.
Yeah, we lost connection there, but I'm pretty sure it's still streaming live. But we definitely,
it's still going.
Yeah, we definitely, all the comments weren't coming through because I did this yesterday. There's probably like 100 comments and only like a few of them came through. So, but anyway, guys, it's great to connect. I'm going to go read the comments now after we end this and connect with you guys out there. I really appreciate you tuning in, and follow Brooks. Make sure you go and take him up on his offer to do the complimentary call and get into his coaching, work with him. He'll transform your life. I mean, he's worked with a lot of people. I know the level that he's played at as an entrepreneur is at the highest level. And, you can go check out, his wife's business and, Natalie Jill Fit on all the channels. You'll see she's got like 10 million followers or even more.
Something like 3, I don't know.
Oh, 3 million,
I think if you add, I think it's just like 1.8, 1.9 Facebook, 500,000 Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, like all the things. So.
Yeah, so she's massive and she's transformed lives. I remember going over there, and then she's doing live streams with like 20 or 30,000 people on there at once, like when Facebook was showing live streams to everybody. So, and Brooks is behind that. He's built that company up and got it to where it was. So
we were a great team, and this is also ironic. Like my wife has a top 50 podcast as well that she's had for almost 2 years. Yeah. And just to speak, like, this is my wife that's had a podcast, but this speaks to me. Ironically, the first time I was on her podcast it actually released today, I think.
Oh, wow.
So my wife has a podcast, and it took me almost 2 years, and she has a top 50 podcast, but that just speaks to, the work that I had to do. It's not like she didn't ask me, or it was like, I wasn't ready. And that's the thing. So it's like, this has been huge, to step into the light. And like, that's, what I help you do, is pull the gifts out of people. That's what I realized. Like one of my big gifts is pulling, like helping people see their gifts so they can step into their purpose and take that to the world.
Absolutely. And that's why we got the Beyond Big Influence show, because Brooks is going to work with Beyond Big influencers. He's built one up. With one of the, Natalie's got to one of the highest levels there are out there. I mean, sure, she could get to 100 million followers and do all this other stuff, and she'll just keep growing and growing and growing. She's built this massive thing, but what we're going to monitor and what we're going to help with, and I'm going to make sure of it, because my 3 brands are Influencer Soft, Influencer Digital, and Influencer Mentoring. So I have my 3 businesses: my software, my coaching, and my digital marketing agency. Like when we started talking, I just had the agency, and that wasn't even built up to how it is now. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to help Brooks as much as I can to build up his influence and step into his light, and he'll just keep doing it. And he's helping a lot of people do it as well. And, I'd like to have him on the show maybe in 6 months or so, just to kind of see where he's at. And I
let's do
guarantee
it.
you guys, with what he has, with what the resources he has, the people he has in his corner, I've been seeing him. The reason why I reached out to you, because I saw you were on this, like a summit or something with Anthony Trucks. I reached out to him. I asked him, hey, you want to be on the show? I saw your face was on the same banner. So I reached out to you the same day. He's like, yeah, he's overseas doing some stuff. When he gets back from South America, he's going to be on the show as well. So I know you know him from the whole Brendan and Shalene Johnson and the whole crew. Yeah, that's how we got connected. So I know you're getting out there, you're getting active, and it's just a matter of time, because you get on the right platform, you get one big heavy hitter. I was talking to Mark Lack about this. You get one heavy hitter to promote you, and you could just really blow up. I mean, that's what it takes. And you have the resources and you have everything, so we just got to make it happen. So I'm gonna support you as much as possible, man.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I just think when you're in alignment, people just want to help. And that's my thing, is just like, I just like to keep helping people.
Yeah. And one thing I want to say too, before we wrap this up, is Brooks, like most people try to come on and they like to puff up their chest and say, I've done this and I've done that, and show off and kind of brag, and they're faking it till they make it, and they're not being real. Okay. He is not afraid to come out here and show who he is, talk about his inefficiencies, talk about what he's good at, what he needs help with. And that takes a lot of courage. And that's something that should not be overlooked, because so many people, all they do is fake it till they make it, fake it. And, it's just kind of like, that's not real to me. And that's never going to resonate fully with somebody, Yeah.
So. And that was the thing. That's still that place of ego, but that's just what I want people to see, that, because a lot of people would look at me and they would see the accolades, the this, the that, the other. But I really want people to know, because I think that's a lot of, it's the highly successful people that are suffering. I want people to see that, man, this is the human condition. Mm-hmm. These things are there. And yes, like I've done, but I'm telling you, even doing some of those things, I still felt like nothing inside, because I didn't know who I was. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's just like, you don't have to take my word for it. You can go to Wikipedia, and there's a list of every billionaire, A-list celebrity, rock star, Olympian, etc., that's taken their own life, in the 21st century. Yeah. And it's not just the United States. It's in Belgium. It's in Central America. It's in South America. It's in Europe. There's no amount of more of anything external that will fill an internal hole. Mm-hmm. And so and the only way for let people see that is where people have to say, look, even with all this stuff, again, I'm 44 and a half now. It wasn't until November, when I was 43, in the first time in my life, that I could actually say that I loved myself, that I could actually say I was ownership and comfortable with who I was. Yeah. And it's and then when you're operating from that place, everything becomes just so much easier. Yeah. That's huge, man. I appreciate the vulnerability. I think a lot of people are going to resonate with what you're saying, because most people are going through a lot of tough times. I mean, in 100%. General, especially people on my channel and my friends, they might say, well, I'm doing amazing, because they're trying to make it seem like they're just killing it. So then you take interest in what they have, because they're selling it. They're selling the dream. But, a lot of people out there are struggling. There's certain things that hit you. I mean, no matter who you are, you're going to come to tough times, or lose somebody, or lose something. I mean, even Grant Cardone or anybody like this, they'll say, well, I'm actually losing almost as much as I'm winning. I'm just trying to make my wins a little bit bigger than my losses. So they're actually probably losing more. Like Michael Jordan will say, I missed more game-winning shots than anyone, because I wasn't afraid to take the game-winning shot. Yep. So that's what we're here to do, inspire you. Hopefully the rest of your week is amazing, and then you carry that to next week and the next week, and you start getting some momentum. And that's what the whole purpose of this is, what we're doing here today. So. And since you brought up Michael Jordan, I'm sure you watched The Last Dance.
Actually, I haven't seen it, but Michael Jordan, and I have a reason for that. I've just been like super focused on what I'm doing right now, and I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna watch it here soon, but right now I'm just like really focusing on what I'm doing, and but yeah, I know a lot of people have said, you haven't watched it yet? Like, what's wrong with you, you know?
Well, that was funny. Like I didn't binge watch anything, but the only thing that I really watched during the whole pandemic, people were crushing shows. Like I did, like The Last Dance, because I played basketball as a kid. Yeah. That was the other sport that I played, with swimming. Mm-hmm. But there was just one thing in there that I'll touch on. Sure. They talked about the one thing that separated Michael Jordan from everybody else. What do you think it was?
I mean, to me, like, because I grew up, really following Michael Jordan, and the one thing that resonates with me, because like he got cut from his sophomore team in high school, and his fire was inside of him. His internal fire was just bigger and more powerful than anybody else's ever. Okay, so like he. Because, I made my sophomore varsity team. My first game, I scored 17 points and had 12 rebounds. Okay. And it was against the number 5 team in California. So it wasn't like a crappy team. Like, they were ranked, like, in the nation, too. So, like, I had all these skills, and I had people coming to watch me play. I had 2 scouts coming to our next game. They came up to me before the game and said they were here in the stands just to watch me. Like some of the top scouts in San Diego. But then I got a big head. I got full of myself. The fire wasn't there because I was complacent at that point. I'm like, whoa, I already made the NBA, like I thought I was, I was a 6'5", like point guard. So, I had a shot, like, anyway. So that my fire got crushed. His fire just started burning and burning and burning to the point where he worked so hard. He came back as a junior in high school, and he was recruited everywhere in the country. So sorry for taking up time there, but that's
no, it's good because that's
what I know about him. But so what can you say about it? Yeah.
Like his work ethic, all those things, the way he would create stories to fuel himself.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of people would miss it because they only touched on it for like 90 seconds to 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But the single thing that really separated, because a lot of people have the drive, but at that level, the thing that separated Michael Jordan from everybody else was this, his ability to be present.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And that was just, they talked like, he would never, like, he goes, why would I think about a shot that I haven't taken yet?
Yeah, exactly.
People they're thinking about the last time they missed that shot, or maybe they made the shot, or like there's all the head trash. But like whether it was an interview, no matter what it was, and this is the thing, people will go like hang out with monks for 7 years, but the ability to be present because he was present in that moment with all the hard work, with all the dedication, with all the stuff. But being present in that moment is what separated him from everybody else.
Amazing. So on this show, typically I ask people, what do we want to leave the show with, the final words, the final thought? I think that was it. So I'm not even going to do it. We don't even need to do it. So thank you for joining us, bro. Brooks Hollan, everybody, go follow him. Go check him out. This won't be the last you see of him. This guy is just getting started, and he's going to do something massive. I just have a feeling. Okay.
100%.
Welcome to the show, man. Beyond Big Influence. And I look forward to seeing you. We'll go do a drive and we'll hang out, bro. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of Beyond Big Influence with Jesse Dobeck. Until then, take care and have a great week.